You've been now with Alys Beach for at least a few business cycles. How is
5 years in a couple of weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, and now post-pandemic. When did you first start thinking that a data-informed marketing strategy would be the way to go?
Honestly, before I can say this, Jim and I had been talking about as soon as I landed. So Jim and I had a relationship. He was a keynote speaker at a tourism conference I went to in Biloxi, Mississippi. I think it was the Southeast Tourism Society. And his information was fantastic. And we ended up sitting next to each other at dinner or at some event. And so we stayed in touch. When I got to Alys Beach, one of the first things I noticed, and this was August of 2018, was that while we had data, it was just all over the place. Real estate was working in their silo. The resort and rental side was working on their own, spreadsheet. Our events team had their ticket attendees. We had our owner software. We had our Alys shop, our retail customers. It was all just in buckets and places, and nobody was communicating with each other. So I realized early on there was a huge opportunity to kind of pull that in. I didn't know what it was going to look like or what that meant. I just knew that there was an opportunity because this was really valuable data, but most of it was probably sitting in an Excel spreadsheet or, in just some form reporting. Nobody was really analyzing that data from a bigger point of view. Obviously sales had a huge handle on their prospects and the data they used, and our rentals team did too, but you never could connect the two. So I reached out to Jim. He came down and we started brainstorming and realized that the value in kind of tracking that customer journey from if they bought a ticket to one of our fabulous events, did they end up buying a home 4 years later? That's the kind of information and the questions we were asking ourselves. How do we connect that? So from there, Jim and I we did a market research project to get a understanding of brand awareness of Alys Beach as it relates to other luxury developments in the 30A area. We did some owner profiling. We did a lot of research and data, and that kind of started our relationship with RMG.
This is excellent. So you're describing RMG comes in, first they kind of turn over all the sand dollars, seashells, and give you a sort of research profile, a buyer's profile, a visitor profile in a sense.
Buyers and vacation rental guests, both ends.
Mm-hmm. And what's it like working with RMG? I mean, you're in the luxury space. You have very discerning buyers and clients. RMG comes to the table. How do they look, act, perform?
It's always a better meeting when RMG's in the meeting. So I'll just say that as great as Jim and as helpful as he is to kind of walk me through a lot of the processes, nothing resonates as much as when he's in the room and he can speak to whoever I'm having him speak to and kind of and explain the process and how it all relates. So Jim's been an invaluable partner. In fact, we just put him on retainer this year so that he's an agency of record for us, because now, all these new projects and programs we've got in place, he's such an asset for me, a resource for me. I can ping things off of him and he can really help return that information in a way that's digestible, that, our executives and our board can relate to. It also comes back and helps me with suggestions and ideas and why don't we try this? And hey, what about this? So he's been an invaluable partner for us in so many aspects through SmartPixl, bringing Common Thread on board, which is the proprietary platform that we had developed to, bring all of our data under one umbrella. It's been a lot of fun because the results and the analytics that come back to us truly show that what we're doing is making an impact and that we're just not throwing things out there in the wind and hoping everything's going to be great and people will think Alys Beach is great. I mean, there's real science behind all this, and I love to be able to take the beautiful part of marketing and back it up with the science part, and that's what RMG has really helped us do.
From a marketing perspective, describe SmartPixl.
Okay, so here we go. So it took me the longest time just to be able to pronounce de-anonymization, but basically, the value that SmartPixl brings to us is that of the 1 million+ visitors that visit the Alys Beach website each year through SmartPixl technology, about 55, maybe even 60% of those folks who come in through the website can actually be de-anonymized and return back to us their full name, their primary household residence, and an email address. So to be able to take, right now we've got somewhere under 600,000 emails that we've collected since SmartPixl has started, to be able to then take that data, because not all of those people are the right people. They've gotten to the website for whatever reason. But from there, we're able then to track these people through that customer journey. So if they click on an ad that we ran in townandcountry.com, they come through the website and SmartPixl is able to grab Brian London's information. You then live in common thread. And if we, want to go back through that information and say, give me everyone who clicked through from that Condé Nast Traveler ad and then study your activities, we're able to do that now through that SmartPixl technology. We're able to send an email to you to give you more information about Alys Beach. We're able to look at the visits you make to the website. So what we've done is if a particular person has visited our vacation rental or real estate section of the website more than 3 times in 1 week, we have a report generated, and we're going to send them kind of a general, not, hey, we saw that you were on our website, but just, hey, here's some Alys Beach information. And then we track that activity from there. So we started doing that in February. So I think our May data, it was about, I can't remember how many, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 email addresses we were able to capture that had some sort of activity that indicated that they were serious. They had either searched 3 rental homes or 3 dates, or they had looked at 3 property listings. But we know it's you doing that. So then you're flagged in our system as a hot prospect, and you'll get our best communications and our most recent communications. That's the plan. I mean, we've been doing it now for about 6 months, but that's
what
the
were you
intent.
doing before?
We wouldn't know. We knew we had 1 million people that came to our website, and we knew that most of them, or, from Atlanta or Dallas, or we knew that kind of information that you can get through Google Analytics, but we had no idea who that person was. With our ad agency, we started embedding unique tracking codes in our paid digital advertising as well. So we had already started tracking that, but we still didn't know if it was Stacy Hamilton or Brian London that clicked that ad. We just know that you saw that ad. So now SmartPixl has added that extra layer of de-anonymizing you and giving us real data that we can then track all the way again to a vacation rental booking or ultimately a home sale.
And the ad agency, they are just in love with this as well, or they think it's stepping on their toes?
I think there was a learning curve there for a while, but we are all on board. Our end game is to make sure that we have compelling enough data to show that our marketing is working so that we can get those dollars next year and the year after. So RMG and Devote, which is our agency, have worked together on some email campaigns, the UTM tracking and some other situations. And it's been a really interesting learning curve for all of us, I think. We all understand the value of the data, but to start putting real people behind that data that we're collecting, really, that really takes it to a different level.
And in terms of your operations, how often does it make sense to look at the platform compared to the marketing push? If you make a placement in Rob Report, now you're seeing some associated activity on the website. What is your time schedule for now looking into see which of those individuals are qualified to move on into the next part of the sequence?
Right now, we're at a month, but we're going to take it to every 2 weeks. Ultimately, we would like to have it almost daily.
Yeah.
We staffing, we don't have the staff to be able to manage that right now. But ultimately, if you and your wife are thinking about the 30A area for August 1st through the 8th, and you've looked at 3 Alys Beach homes for that, I don't need to wait till July 31st to reach out to you. I want to make sure that we're getting the information you need in real time. So that would mean having, an associate managing almost real time, at least 24 hours, every 24 hours managing that activity. we're not there yet, but ultimately it would be something like that.
So describe life before this technology. You would have no idea that I was very interested in an August 1st. You might never reach out to me. Is that what would happen?
Correct. Unless you directly inquire to our reservations department or send an email through the contact form, we would have no idea that you were looking for that date. So having that data available to us it's pretty mind blowing. I mean, a lot of this is so hard to wrap your mind around. I mean, you can really, and I know it sounds so cliched, but going down a wormhole with this data, you can get so precise and exact. We have an opportunity with Rob Report Magazine to attend an event through in Art Basel with them. And so now with the common thread, I'm going to be able to go in and pull out everybody in that Miami, South Florida area that's ever inquired about an Alys Beach. And we're going to send an email out saying, hey, look for us in Miami at Art Basel. We're partnering with Rob Report. Our town architect's going to be one of the featured artists of their event. So that's another way we use the common thread data. We're sending 2 chefs up to the Chicago Gourmet Show in September. So we're going to pull everybody out of our database through common thread that has, Chicago affiliations, and send some social and send some email to them to say, hey, look, Alys Beach culinary team is going to be at Chicago Gourmet. So there's other ways that we're using the data just kind of on a daily basis. It's like, oh, let's look at Austin, like between our rental guests, our homeowners, how many people are in the Austin market? Should we do some sort of event there? Because there's so much interest coming from that area. So that's a way we started using common thread almost immediately.
Oh yeah, what was the pebble in your shoe that you were hoping RMG could solve for you from a sales and marketing standpoint?
Connecting the dots between the customers in the various databases. Mm-hmm. That's number one. That is, if we've got 10,000 names sitting in a vacation rental database from the last 5 years, and we've got 8,000 names, sales prospects sitting in our Salesforce database, none of these databases have talked or been integrated together. We don't know who's converting, what actions they're taking. So being able to pull that into one was the primary goal of that. And I say that, it took a while. Our data, there was a lot of data to go through, a lot of data to clean up, a lot of data we found in really obscure places, a lot of trials and errors, making sure we're getting the right fields over. Mm-hmm. What people were doing 10 years ago, is still there sitting in our archival files, but how do we pull all that in? So it's taken a good year and a half or so, but that's on our end because we just want to make sure that all the data we're starting to slice and dice is the best, in the best health and the best shape it could be.
For those considering, describe the size and scale of the transformation. You feel like you're a little bit ahead of the curve. You feel like you're out in front. You feel like you're still catching up. With this new technology in place, how do you think about where you are in terms of the competitive advantage?
Well, I definitely think just having access to the data that we can capture through SmartPixl alone puts us ahead. I've been doing this for a very long time, mostly in tourism, master plan communities along 30A, and I've never had the access to the type of data that we have through SmartPixl and being able to establish relationships with those people and then tracking their customer journey. So, a lot of people around this area do a really great job marketing. I'm a huge fan of the entire area and everybody does a great job, but being able through SmartPixl to really capture real information about real prospects, I think definitely puts us in an advantage.
So you are attending these industry events, you get to see RMG give the keynote and you have a little conversation. Now you're bringing this back to the office. What's the internal advocacy like to get this project, launched internally?
It's going to vary by the type of organization you work for. Fortunately, Alys Beach was very keen on data and analytics anyway, so it didn't take much for me to convince them that this was definitely something that needed time, resource, money, committed to getting our data clean. and in a place where we can use it effectively. I can see from my experience in other situations, I think it would probably be a little more challenging to convert some tourism boards or boards of directors and other folks who may not see the value in the data and understand the value it has. So fortunately for us, everybody was pretty much on board, realized that, we had some really good information being stored in our various databases that needed to connect. So I had great support and continued support here, but I can see, from other situations why it might take a little longer, but the proof is in the numbers and the analytics. And so, again, Jim does such a great job of presenting in such a digestible way. I mean, if you could hold people's attention for 40 minutes, 500 people's attention for 40 minutes at a conference, your delivery is good. And so, I would definitely recommend bringing Jim in at the beginning and his team to help pitch the story. He even helped put together decks for us that helped explain the process and flow charts and the data used to live here. So Jim has an amazing way to connect both worlds in a way that we all can really get excited about.
So Stacy, kind of from start to finish, the sales team gets kind of the marketing folder for the most valuable prospects. Of course, that's still unfolding, but you've had some small victories along the way. Describe those.
We can use the Wall Street Journal article as an example. From the Wall Street Journal article, we were able to track increased visitation. Website traffic increased about 3 times in the days following the digital version and the printed version. From that, we tracked website visitors for about 5 days after the article. We were able to gather 1,100 email addresses through SmartPixl from people who we assume. Now, Wall Street Journal did not include a link in their article, so we have no direct link tracking available. But through the increased activity, we were able to capture 1,100 emails within 3 or 4 days of that article that we were then in turn able to send out a wonderful Alys Beach message through email. And then from there, we are tracking their activity through opening other emails. Do they actually book a vacation rental home? Have they come back to the website and searched rentals or real estate prospects? So that was something that happened, kind of surprisingly. We had been working with the Wall Street Journal folks for a while, but that was a great use of the common thread. In fact, now I have to submit a monthly Wall Street Journal report to corporate just to show and track activity from those 1,100 names. So that's a very precise example of how we're using common thread in real time.
Excellent. And what's the average home sale price?
North of Highway 38, it's about 6 or 7 million.
Yeah.
And then south of 38, it's a little more than that, but we are building, like I was saying earlier, a lot of condominium products. So that average rate, so I would say around that 6 or 7 million. Our highest sale last year was right under 20 million for one home on the Gulf front.
Okay, so the Wall Street Journal article only has a potential revenue value of about $7 billion.
Yes. So we actually did a really great infographic on the outreach and the number of people we reached through our efforts, through Wall Street Journal's efforts. The article was shared several times through other websites. We've sent out our own emails. We did our own social. So it's like 8 billion eyeballs, somehow managed to see this article. And we got a lot of immediate phone calls from people who were interested. And so that has been a really fun journey to watch, and we'll continue to watch that as we move forward. We're actually going to the Inman Luxury Conference, real estate conference in Vegas in early August, and a lot of the big real estate journalists and influencers and folks that kind of cover that industry are going to be there. And we feel like that Wall Street Journal gives us a calling card that perhaps, before we maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to start up a conversation with these influential real estate types. But the Wall Street Journal article has definitely opened some doors for us and generated some awareness that we really will use to our advantage for Alys Beach and for the entire area.
In working with RMG, many clients would describe them as hyper collaborative, always there, willing to participate, share ideas, hear ideas, offer insights when possible. Anything come to mind that would really exemplify their level of collaboration?
Yes. Again, speaking about the Wall Street Journal, I really wanted to provide some analysis of the impact that the article had on the Alys Beach brand, and reached out to Jim and asked him to help me kind of look at the data that we were able to collect over the last week, and come back with some strong statements about what we feel we've learned, what the potential is there to work this particular market. And so Jim was able to come back to me just within a matter of, a day or so and say, yes, we had a chance to look at this data and we see some real opportunity here and this type of activity from people. So again, Jim and his team has been so helpful to help me take a situation that I probably can't explain as technically as they can, and
Yeah.
again, making that information digestible to people like me and to the people that I need to convince, that our marketing is working. So they've been invaluable in that way.